If your body doesn't feel safe, it won't begin to heal. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was aching. My whole body hurt. My cycle stopped at the age of 39. You name it. Basically, my body was shutting down. He said, Amber, you are in chronic stress. I just felt like, is this how I'm going to have to live my life? I'm 39.
If you're a high achieving woman who's been doing everything right but still feels like she's waking up exhausted, hormonally wrecked, and wondering why your body feels like it's working against you, this is the episode for you. I am sitting down with Amber Swift, a women's health specialist trained in integrative nutrition, functional medicine, and traditional Chinese medicine. Amber has worked with hundreds of faith-driven women who have been told their labs are normal while feeling anything but, and she's on a mission to change that. In this conversation, Amber breaks down why chronic stress is silently wrecking your hormones, digestion, and energy, and why the harder you push, the worse you feel. She shares why food is your first and most powerful medicine, how two simple daily habits can begin shifting everything, and what it actually looks like to partner with God in your health instead of striving for control. And here's the message that might just change everything for you today. You don't have to earn God's love, not through perfect eating, perfect discipline, perfect health. None of that. He's already in love with you. And this episode will help you steward the body He gave you with grace instead of guilt. This one is going to fire you up and finally make you feel seen. Amber, I am so grateful to have you here with us today. Could you share with us the heart behind everyday health for Christian women and why this message matters so much to you?
Yes, definitely. So the heart behind the podcast and my business is really to help women who have been struggling, who have tried all of the things. They have Googled, they have tried the supplements, they've tried the diet plans, and they still are struggling with high anxiety and just feeling miserable with their digestion, their hormones, to help them get to the root behind that and then map out a plan that is simple and doable within their busy life so that they just thrive in the life that God has gifted them with. And the reason it matters so much to me is because of my own story. When I was 39, I was eating a perfect paleo diet because we had seen a naturopath 10 years before that. I had cleared up all my stomach pains and my headaches. But at 39, after trying a very popular detox, my body began shutting down. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was aching. My whole body hurt. My cycle stopped at the age of 39. You name it. Basically, my body was shutting down. And I went back to the same naturopathic doctor who had by that time become my mentor. And he said, Amber, you are in chronic stress. And so, right, I was trying all the things but in Googling and trying all these things, and it was actually just magnifying my symptoms. And I just felt like, is this how I'm going to have to live my life? I'm 39, and so the ability to help women and guide them in getting to the why behind all of their symptoms really is my passion so that women can just walk in what God has for them. So that's my heart.
I love that. And I love the word that you use is simple because boy, can we
Yeah.
overcomplicate things, right?
Yes.
And there's so much external noise. And with the
Yes.
Googling and join this group and be over
Yeah.
here, God's plan is actually pretty simple and
Yes.
his principles are pretty simple. So when you're thinking about clients that you've worked with and experiences that you've had, what made you realize that so many women today are exhausted, not because they're failing
Yeah.
necessarily, but because they're overloaded?
Yeah. Well, what I noticed, well, every single one of my clients without fail was the woman that every organization, every church wanted. because they were the go-getters. They were going to do it. They were going to do it with excellence. I mean, and they were doing everything. And just listening to them, I would be exhausted just
Hmm.
listening to them and stuff. And one thing that I actually just recently told one of my clients is that if your body doesn't feel safe, you could follow this protocol we've developed. But if your body doesn't feel safe, it won't begin to heal because you're still going to be in that perpetual running from a bear. And so even though you might feel guilty staying home in the evening once in a while and reading a book or watching something that you love, it actually is allowing your body to just settle and just rest. And you don't have to have an activity every night, have a Bible study, every other day, and be volunteering and everything, So, yes, that really is just my typical client. They really are so busy and exhausted.
I love that you said that because that's who I attract. Well, because I think that's probably who we are.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And
No,
so
I
it's
had to
like when you've
learn.
been there, like, I can do that. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Let's like keep adding it on and adding it on.
Yes.
And then I think of the scripture that says, I think it's in Isaiah that you can run and not be weary and walk and not faint. And I think,
Yeah.
oh, I can still crawl. I
Yeah.
can still crawl. Like I can scooch. And the Lord's like, Jamie, get up off the ground. Go take a
Yes.
nap. Like he
Yes.
told Elijah, go take a nap,
Take a nap.
get some
Here's
good
some food.
food and like sit down for a minute, be still and know, right?
Yes.
And in fact, I got that tattooed on my arm, my wrist is be still and know, because
I
that is
love
God's
it.
message for me every day. I
Yes.
was just like, you
Yes.
know what, Lord, I need a permanent reminder. And so I was thinking about when you were talking about chronic stress, is I think there's so many women who don't even realize they're in chronic stress. They're fine.
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
for me, it's like I'm fine. Like I'm not
Hmm.
stressed. But
Hmm.
then but my body's telling another story. And
Yes.
so when we
Yes.
talk about digestion, our brains need to digest, our ears need to digest, our
Hmm.
mouths need to digest. There's so much different types of digestion going on.
Hmm.
But chronic stress impacts hormones, digestion, inflammation, and cravings. How have you seen that play out in your experience or your clients?
Yeah. Yeah. So how have I seen the chronic stress? Oh my goodness, and how it affects digestion. Yes. So what it typically ends up happening is the typical scenario is the woman who just eats on the go, just eats constant, like just eats whatever, or is constantly skipping meals. So,
Mhm.
right. So then she has blood sugar dysregulation, which then adds to her chronic stress, and then it directly affects her digestion. So she's feeling bloated. She's feeling like just heavy and full and having undigested particles in her stools. And maybe she's constipated or the opposite, having diarrhea.
Mhm.
Just really, so with the digestion, it just feels like she's never hungry. That's the other thing I've noticed is my clients who come to me and they're just like, I'm never hungry. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. Like hunger, we were right as teenagers in the 80s and 90s, we were taught that being hungry was actually a bad thing. Like, oh, yeah, I'm not hungry. That's good. But
Yeah.
it really isn't. It's a
Yeah.
horrible thing. It's your body shutting down. It's not digesting. And you need to digest to be able to get all of the nutrients, all the vital nutrients into your body. Because, right, as women, we want our hair to look pretty. We want our skin to look pretty and our nails to look pretty, but not even realizing that chronic stress and not digesting properly actually affects all of those things too. So, just really seeing how most of the ailments that women as a whole struggle with does a lot of the time go back to chronic stress and a lack of proper digestion. And it's also interesting too, because when we think of chronic stress, we usually just think of like stressful situations, right? Oh, I'm so stressed. That person stresses me out.
Mhm.
But another thing I work with all of my clients is that if you're eating a diet that's like poison to you, that sends your body into stress. If you have a hidden gut bacteria, some type of inflammation, that sends your body into stress, along with people, right? Toxic relationships or having hidden anger or stuffed, bitterness, all of these things. So yes, so I see it a lot.
You've seen a lot, and
Yeah.
I love that you're talking about this chronic stress because I think in my experience, it feels like it's downplayed a little bit in the sense of like, just go take a bath. Just
Yes.
like calm down, read a book, you'll be fine.
Yes.
But what happens when we get stuck in that loop? And I think, and
Yes.
how would you suggest, maybe you tell your clients how to, one, recognize that they're even in a loop, and then
Hmm.
two, how to get out of that loop? Because
Yeah.
we have to kind of step out of it a lot in the beginning, I think, and then it
Yes.
becomes a pattern to not go back in. But
Yes, no. Well, it's interesting because what I've found is that there's a lot of things that we cannot control, but we can control. The first thing we can control is what we put in our mouth. And so that's actually always where I begin with my clients, because it just begins to, kind of spring roll into the next thing, which then is the emotional,
mhm,
dysregulation that she has. The different things that she's struggling with, whether it's emotions or it's her lifestyle that is way too just she's just overdone.
mhm,
So just really looking at all of this, but I always start with the food on her plate and beginning to look at it as medicine, instead of, this is bad, or I just shouldn't eat, or, all of the lies that we've been taught, but really looking at her food as medicine for her, and then the freedom that comes with that. Like, as they begin to change the way they look at their food, then we begin to work on the other things, because there's so much in our lives that we cannot control, but we can control what we put into our mouth. And I mean, more times than not, we'll be talking about kale and then she'll start crying about X, Y, and Z,
yeah.
so so it always does. It just kind of, moves into the next thing, but always working with that first thing, because we can control what we put into our mouth.
Yes. And we can control how long it stays there, right? Are you
Yes.
eating your food?
Yes.
And that's one of the things that is kind of a gauge for me, because
Mhm.
I used to just wolf down food because
Yeah.
nobody got time to eat. We got to go,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I had three little boys, and it was kind of like I had to eat as fast as I could before, so and so wanted down or this spilled,
Yes.
whatever. And I got into that habit.
Hmm.
And then growing up, I was in a situation where we didn't have a lot of money. So sometimes we had dinner and sometimes we didn't. So I
Hmm.
learned to like gorge when there was food. And
Yes.
it wasn't until like my late 20s that I was like, I can slow down. I can
Yes.
chew my food. And so I can
Yes.
tell when I'm starting to get stressed, even now, I'll start to try to eat fast. I'm like, oh, what's
Yeah.
going on? Take a
Yes.
minute.
Yes.
Yeah. And so as as we're gauging these things, how have you noticed how our relationship with God affects our
Hmm.
relationship to ourself and our body? Maybe like I'm thinking more along the lines of, if I feel like I have to keep proving myself to God,
Mm.
then I keep pushing myself. And so what are your thoughts on
Mm.
that?
Yeah, definitely. No, so I love the fact and the truth that I am a daughter of the Most High God, and I am his child, and he loves me with an everlasting love. And I do not have to, and this is actually something I tell my ladies a lot of my clients, is that if you could not do one more thing for the Lord, he would love you just the same.
Mhm.
What you do has nothing to do with how you are loved. And when we really see that, like, wow, like my Father in heaven, he has a perfect love. And it is not dependent on anything that I do, anything I don't do. He loves me. When I was in my mother's womb, he loved me. And so to me, that sets me free. And I've watched it set my clients free to then run your race with perseverance, not because you're needing to prove anything, but because this is our one race, right? This is my one life. And I get to run this with the Lord. And when we do it as unto him, not to prove anything, there's so much more joy.
Yeah.
There's so much more peace. Like, you're not trying to prove anything to anybody. not even yourself and not to the Lord. Like he just loves us. And the peace and how that calms your heart down, that calms your mind down, that calms your body down. I mean, it's just, that's that peace that surpasses all understanding, right? That guards our hearts and our minds in him. And so that really is what I have found that helps me. And then it helps my clients too.
I love that. I'm always like, I have sayings that I just say around the house or when I'm with friends or with clients. And one of the things that I say is it's not necessarily that we need to stop doing the thing. We just need to change the spirit and energy in which we do it.
Yes.
Right. So it's
That's
like,
good.
we've got to clean the kitchen. And
Yes.
and I had a client say this to me the other day. She's like, I was in there frantic, just doing things as fast as I can. And she goes, I heard your voice. Change the way you do it. So she turned on some music. She moved a
Yes.
little bit slower.
Yes.
She didn't take all day to do it, but she moved a
Mm-mm.
little bit slower, a little bit more intentionally, and she started to enjoy the kitchen cleaning process, right? And
Yes.
so it's not
Enjoy
that
it.
you go, oh, I'm stressed and I'm tapping out and I'm not doing anything ever again, because as high performing Christian women, which we are, we love to serve, we love to work, we love to
Mhm.
do these things. But if we can, like you were saying, just switch it, I'm not proving anything.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm doing it from a place of love and of joy. Then you also know when to stop, when that shifts in your body, when you're like, I need a break. I'm going to go spend
Yes.
some time walking in the sun, in the fresh air. And it shifts. So it's, again, when we're talking to these high functioning women, we're not telling them, okay, you're stressed. We need to take everything off your plate and you need to sit in a bath and do nothing. But
Hmm.
what we're actually saying is we need to retrain ourselves
Yes.
to do things, everything from eating to serving to showing up in a way that serves God,
I
right?
agree.
Because we love
Yes.
him, not because we're trying to get value. And
No,
I
it's
think
so
that
true.
that's the value piece that you mentioned just really hits home, because I know for me, I had three stepdads. None of them were, oh, sorry, I had like my biological dad and two stepdads.
Yeah.
And none of them were really what I would consider great fathers.
Yeah.
And inadvertently, I had created God in their image rather than mine. So I felt
Yeah.
like I had to prove. I felt like I
Yeah.
had to show up. I felt like I had to do all of these things. And I think that when we're as high performing women, we may want to ask that question, where in my life do I feel like I've had to prove myself
Hmm.
worthy of love, worthy of
Yes.
success, worthy of whatever it is that you're seeking. And
Yeah.
so this kind of goes over into culture as well. So how can women partner with God during their healing journey instead of constantly striving for that control?
I love that, partnering with God. I do want to say something about what you just said, though,
Yeah.
about that feeling of unloved and stuff. I dealt with that a lot too, because I did have a biological father that abandoned me. And then I have a wonderful stepdad who raised me, but he struggled with being he struggled with being emotionally connected.
Hmm.
And so it was through finding the Heavenly Father that I found that, like, because he really is, like, he is perfect.
Yes.
And he can meet all of our little girl needs in a
Hmm.
way that only he can. And so I'm just so thankful for that. But yes.
Excuse the interruption, but if you're wondering how you can go deeper on this topic, then I have a free training that gives you the exact formula I use with every client. It's free and it's in the description.
Honestly, I think it's a day by day. It's day by day surrender. It's like in every area of our lives, but with our health, surrendering it to him, saying, okay, Lord, I need you. So these are the practical steps I'm taking. I'm taking these practical steps. This is what, the person that is, helping me or whoever is helping me do this. I'm taking these practical steps, but the results I leave up to you. And
Hmm.
that is what I've had to do in so many areas of my life. Like, God calls me to obedience because I'm a results driven person. Like, if
Hmm.
I don't see the results that I want to see, I can quickly either want to give up or feel like I'm doing something wrong. And what the Lord has really taught me is that my job is obedience and faithfulness. The results are up to him. And so I really see that like that's the way we can partner with the Lord is like, okay, I do need to exercise. I mean, I can't just like, Lord, just take care of all of my issues, I need to exercise. I need to get into bed. I need to drink my water. I need to eat a diet that is like medicine for my body. But the results, Lord, I leave up to you. And so I think that that's where that beautiful partnership with the Lord is. I've always taught my kids that it's like, it is 100% up to the Lord, but he needs 100% of your effort. Like you've got to like put some skin in the game. It doesn't mean that that's your worth or anything like that, but God gave us 2 feet. He gave us 2 hands. He gave me a brain and he gave me a mouth. And so I need to be faithful. And because I've seen that so often, especially in the church, being raised in the church and then serving in full-time ministry for 25 years in a pastoral role with my husband, just so often as Christians, we can tend to swing the pendulum where we just are like, oh, it's all up to God. It's all up to God. It's like, well, like your feet are here on the ground. Like you're not just a spirit, floating around. Like we are a whole body. So yes. So partner with God.
I love that you said that because how many times have we had prayer over the donuts? Bless them to nourish our bodies and give us. It's like, okay, he's not turning water to wine here. No. You need to show up.
Yes.
And sometimes I even think that when we're at our tiredest and our weakest and our whatever, we could say, because I really do believe that our best changes from day to day, right?
Yes,
so
completely.
Sometimes when I was sick and I had such chronic fatigue, my best was walking to the mailbox and back. That was my best.
I agree.
And now I go on several walks a day and but it doesn't, so the Lord wants us to show up. Right?
Yes.
And I love that I always think of the lamp that I'm a lamp unto your feet.
Yes.
And lamps of the Old Testament only showed 2 or 3 steps.
Yes.
Like they did not illuminate the whole path. And so I think sometimes too, we want that whole path. We want the control. Okay, if I do A, B, and C, this is what's going to happen, right?
Yes.
And it's like, okay, what if you just gently did A, B, and C and just trusted? And I think there's a phrase I use all the time because the Holy Spirit just really whispered this to me a while ago. Is that I know that you believe in God, but do you believe him? And I was like, no, I didn't at the time. And so I went deep dive into my Bible and I started underlining in purple. Well, all blue is the promises and blessings that God is wanting to give us. And then the purple is his character, him, Christ, the Holy Ghost, all that. So if I know who he is, then I know he'll keep these promises. And then in red, I highlight what he's asking me to do. And usually he's asking me to not do things.
Yes.
Be not dismayed.
Yes.
Fear not.
Yes.
Trust in me. And he's not saying, okay, I have a list. So when I brought my list, okay, Lord, okay, we're going to do this together. We're going to partner together. I have this list of things to do. And I really listen. He's like, I want you to do these 2 things. And I'm like, two. And then it's like, my burden is easy and light.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Oh, because I'm used to being like, give it all to me.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. No, because we're the list makers. We're the task-oriented people. Oh,
task-oriented, results-oriented, push through the I cans. And that's why I think we're all here is going, oh, okay. Just because I can doesn't mean I should.
It's so true.
And it's okay. And you talked a little bit about guilt. And one of the things I've had to shift, and I'm going to ask you if you've had to shift this too, is in the beginning, I think we sit and we read that book and we feel a little bit guilty. But can we shift it to gratitude? Can we shift it to going, I am so grateful I get to sit in this comfortable chair reading a wonderful work that someone's put hundreds of hours into.
Yes.
And I'm just going to bask in it for 15 minutes. I'm just going to bask in it. And I'm going to let that guilt go away, that shame, that thing that says you should get up and do this. You should be doing something more valuable with your time. And I'm just going to sit and enjoy the works of someone else.
Yes.
Because I love how in Genesis, God pauses and says, it is good. He
Yes.
enjoys it for a minute. It says it is
Hmm.
good. And
And
so,
he didn't, and
go
he
ahead.
didn't pause. He didn't pause because he couldn't keep creating,
Yeah, right.
right? He literally paused. And I mean, this really is a good example of how, right, the Son of God, our Savior, when he was walking, he paused. He got alone with his Father,
Mhm.
and how important that is to just sit and be alone with him and allow him to fill us and give us the fuel we need and to give and then give us the next step. But it's hard because it is a walk of faith. It is really trusting him and allowing him to take your hand as you're his child and to guide you and direct you. And it's not always quick. That is one thing that in these last few years, because we've walked through a lot of trials, that is one thing that I've noted is that God doesn't, sometimes he moves really quick, but oftentimes he moves really slow according to our time because
Mhm.
he is building our character. Like
Mhm.
C.S. Lewis calls it the hallway experience, where
Mhm.
you're in the hallway and all the doors are closed and you don't really know what's next. You're just walking down that hallway, and sometimes it can feel very long. But those times of getting alone and being silent before him, he gives you the strength and the endurance for the next step.
Yes. And rest, it's okay to rest between those next
Yeah.
steps, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a total change of thinking because again, results based, straight A students. Like I finished a 4-year degree in 18 months
Yeah.
because
Oh,
I
wow.
can. It's like, why did I do that? I could have enjoyed the whole experience, but
Yeah.
I was like, nope, let's do it. Let's get done. What's next? And then I started what nexting myself into
Yes.
disease, you know?
It's true.
And
It's true.
and so I was thinking about that the word faithfulness that you use years ago. I would again in prayer, I was like, what does faithful mean? When I'm faithful to my husband, it means he's the one I think about, he's the one I show up for, he's the one I serve. And how do I talk about him? I always use my words to uplift him, to show like build him up and all those things. And then the question came into my mind, do I do the same for God?
Mm.
And at the time I wasn't. I was like, maybe he'll show up. Maybe he doesn't. I was not faithful to him.
Hmm.
And so switching that, like, how can I be more faithful
Yes.
and to a father who is completely faithful to me?
Yes. And I mean, and just listening to you, I'm reminded of a verse I just saw yesterday about how in our tongue is the power of life and death,
Hmm.
and how it is so important to, my goodness, our
Declare.
cells and our cells, they're constantly listening to everything we say out loud
Hmm.
and what we think. And so how important it is, you're right, to be faithful to the Lord because he has been faithful. There's a really great book out that came out. I think it's newer. It's by John Bevere. It's called The Awe of God. I highly recommend it to anybody. Just basically, he's referring to how much is lacking. The fear of God is lacking in Christians today, that awe of God,
Hmm.
and how that's why so often people are not seeing the miracles that we once did because so many people are not fearing God and being faithful, right, to the one who is always faithful.
Absolutely. I love that. And I will check that out because I'm always
It's a
looking
good
for
book.
good books.
You too.
So, what would you say are two to three simple habits for overwhelmed women that they can start today that would make the biggest difference physically and emotionally and spiritually for them?
Yes. So they're going to seem so simple.
I
But
love it.
these are my top two. One is get half of your body weight in water every day because this helps with all of your detoxification. This helps with calming your central nervous system down. This even helps with brain function. So
Mhm.
just begin to get your body weight in water, half of your body weight in ounces. One time I said that and they were like, you mean I have to drink 75 pounds of water? I was like, no, it's ounces.
Ounces. Yeah. Ounces.
Like, it's ounces. It's not pounds. So we're like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
So yes,
waterlogged.
so get your water and then write down 5 things that you're thankful for every single morning. This will radically change your mindset. This will get you focused on what you have instead of what you have not. And this will give you the energy to get up and get going. This is exactly the practice that I started years ago that really helped me stay healthy through some of the worst trials of my life that I've walked through the last few years. And just that entire mindset shift every morning when I would wake up, I would feel very heavy and drained and like, Lord, I have to face all of this today. And I would sit down and I would write down those 5 things I was thankful for and I would speak them out loud. And it just radically changed my perspective for that day. The circumstances didn't change, right? But I changed. And so drink your water and write down 5 things you're thankful for every day.
I love that. That's actually what I do too. First
Yes.
thing I do is I get up and I get a quart of water with lemon and
Yes.
a little bit of salt. And
Yep.
I have this tree in my it's like on my wall, it's a decal, and I ordered these things that look like leaves, and I write on them so my tree grows. So when I walk in the front room, it's my tree of gratitude, and when people come over, I have them add to it. So anytime that
That's so
I'm
cool.
feeling any sort of lack, I go stand in front of my tree and I read everything everyone's grateful for,
That is
because
awesome.
it changes you, right? And refocuses. I love
Yes.
that. And those are simple. They're simple
Yes,
and they
they
become just a
are.
part of who you are. Then you start to wake up, open your eyes and you're like, thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it changes. Yeah.
It's so true. I just ran a 10-day healthy habits challenge inside my membership. And it was these type of healthy habits because when we think of health, we think of these like massive things, but it really is these little tiny habits that we have every single day that go into making the massive change.
Hmm.
And the women were just like, oh wow, and they're excited and it also helps to spur you on to then do the next thing. Like maybe there is a bigger change you need to make. Maybe there is a step you need to take to really radically change your health journey, but it starts with these little things.
Yes.
So,
Yes. I love that. And so where can people find you? Where can they hear about you, hear more about what you teach?
definitely. So my website is amberswift.com. I always say it's not Taylor Swift, it's Amber Swift.
Amber.
Because that's where people remember it. So amberswift.com, I have a free 15-minute digestive hormone and metabolism review that I offer that I love to help people begin to get to the root. They can also find me on Apple and Spotify and YouTube. It's Everyday Health for the Christian Woman. And I'm also on Facebook as Amber Swift, not Taylor Swift,
Not
Amber Swift.
Amber. Well, I am so grateful that you joined us today and for sharing your wisdom and your testimony.
Thank
And
you.
I just think that so many women will get so much out of this conversation. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Jamie.